Alright, real quick, as a little bit of a personal advertisement, we have a new print up on our Patreon account. It's this one right here. It'll be available till the end of September. So if you guys are interested in it, definitely go check that out. And we plan on, for the October print, having something to do with Friday the 13th. Not exactly sure what yet, because I have like a Bushido, I have the NECA, and Woody, so we might do something a little bit creative, or even maybe something having to do with Nightmare Before Christmas. So if you guys are interested in any prints, definitely go check out our Patreon. Hey Rangers, welcome to Super Important Reviews. My name's Steve, and today we'll be going over another three-way Bandai vinyl review with the Bandai Creations Mechagodzilla, the Movie Monster Series Titanosaurus, and the Movie Monster Series Godzilla 1975. And me! What the heck are you doing here?
Well, there's been a lot of requests for you to possibly do my review, so I figured I'd just kind of jump in and partake in this one, you know?
Well, you know what? Yeah, whatever. I don't even have all the stuff for you, but I guess, because these guys aren't going to take that long to go over, so I guess you win there. You win.
I always win, Steven. I always win.
But anyways, so he's the Nuclear Stirke Trendmaster Godzilla 1998. Missing the Hornet jet and the nuclear missile, but I do have his blast piece, but it's currently missing out of his back thing, so yeah. So it's more or less like I'll showcase him to you. It's not really kind of a review.
Oh, it's a review, alright.
No, it's not a review. I can't review if I don't have everything.
Yes, it is. Nope. Yeah, nope.
You know, I'm just arguing myself, so I'm just going to put them over there. Anyways, the main thing for these guys, though, is I've actually had this one for a while now, the Bandai Creation. I picked them up at a Toys R Us. I recently just acquired these two, though. And I was pretty pumped because I don't actually have a 75 Godzilla in my collection, so this will be a first one for me, though. Actually, sometime, I think at the end of the month, the X Plus 75 is going to be shipping, the 30 centimeter, so I'll actually have this set of kaiju in the X Plus scale as well, so that'll actually be super sweet, because I actually really love the film Terror Mechagodzilla, which is why I kind of collect these. Plus, I tried to pick up like one vinyl for each of the characters. Still missing quite a few, but working on it slowly. So anyways, let's just get into it. So without further ado, further packaging. I don't have it currently. He would have came in a cardboard card. So he would have been like standing in a little display, like a furry background stuff. These guys would have had tags sitting on them, is how you would have purchased those. And then this guy right here, his was actually like a giant green eye on a clamshell, and then it would have had like him displayed with all the stuff in the packaging. But can't really showcase any of that here, but yeah. So let's just move on to the figures.
So, you're gonna be starting with me, is that correct?
No, actually, I was gonna go with Mechagodzilla, because I like him. I like him better. So, we're gonna start with this guy, and then move to the other ones, and you are gonna be last.
Unacceptable.
You're unacceptable. So, anyways, get out of the review. Anyways, moving on to the Mechagodzilla. Actually, I love the detailing on this one, and for the most part, like the creation figures, I've never really been that big of a fan of. I kind of just buy them just because they're like Godzilla stuff. I see them on the shelf, so I purchase them. Actually, I might be selling quite a few of mine because I have pretty much like Japanese versions of almost everybody except for this guy here. But I actually still like I haven't really felt the urge to have to try to get another version of this one, just because like I like the goofy little pose that he has, where he has his like arms kind of outstretched like he's gonna karate chop, or he's like ready to attack from multiple angles. It's just a really strange pose for him to have, and it's something that you don't really see on any of the other Mechagodzilla figures. So it's kind of one of the reasons why I've just always had like a little bit of a soft spot for this one. Then the detailing on him is actually pretty nice. I think they did a really good job at replicating the head that you see on the suit. Looks really good. His eyes are a orange color. You can even see the little sort of missiles on the inside of his mouth. You can see the outlining for the teeth on the inside with his little like flamethrower looking nose thing going on there. A little bit of red here from the nubs on the side, and then so I can rotate all the way around with his dorsal spines, which looks really nice. And I think what they did really good with this little vinyl is that they replicated like the damaged kind of appearance that the suit had, because the metal appearance on the suit was never really like picture perfect looking. And I think they did a really good job at helping to get like the detailing on here. Not quite X Plus quality, but it's just nice to see them at least making an attempt to try to replicate what you've seen in the film. And then moving down to his arms, you got the Mechagodzilla right there for his little arm patch there. I kind of wish the hands moved though. Like the hands don't really look that great on this guy, because they're kind of like molded together and just kind of like almost like fused. And that's like the one thing I was never really that happy with this on this guy, because both of them are pretty much the exact same. And then you also got the Mechagodzilla patch on the opposite side. But it's just more like, I appreciate the way he's like positioned with them. And then the neck detailing looks really nice, where you have like all the rivets all the time on this guy. You got his little chest plate here for the laser that reveals on there. A little bit of orange here for the light on the top center of his chest. He also can actually rotate at his waist, which is actually pretty cool. Reminds me a lot of the bank that I have, where that like that section actually like pops apart. It's kind of reminiscent of that, but just way better proportioned. But moving down to his waist, where you got some more orange here for the nubs, a ton more rivets with a little bit more gunmetaling for a lot of the metal sectionings for the added little plates on the body, while the rest of the body is just this really super shiny metallic silver. Moving down to his legs, where you have his knee missiles, those little protrusions, because this guy just pretty much like shot missiles all the time. Feet look really nice. You got the Bandai copyrights here on the bottom. And then for the most part, tail's pretty good as well, with the little bit of the exhaust revealing on the end of the tail, with that super long piece, which I never really quite understood. Like, I imagine that's pretty much there to make him a little bit more aerodynamic when he's flying. But in terms of like replicating Godzilla, never really understood that piece quite as much. But moving on to the articulation again, his head can rotate all the way around, arms can rotate. That's pretty much about it. He has a rotation at the waist, so he can go all the way around. And then his legs can swing forward and back, all the way around there as well. And then that's pretty much it for this guy here. And then next we'll move on to the newest acquisition, which... You're still not gonna do me yet? No, I said we're doing you last. But Steve, they want to see me now. You know what? I'll save 75 for last. We'll do you next. Will that suffice? Will that get you to stop popping up on the screen here? Titanosaurus is being quiet. Why can't you?
Okay, it's good with me.
Alright, cool. So anyways, for Titanosaurus here, detail-wise, head sculpt looks really nice. They got the little bit of detail here for the eyes with the more raptor-like pupils, which is very accurate for what we've seen in the film. I like too that like the tongue kind of like overlays on the front here, coming out of the front of his lower lip. Looks really cool. Got the little horns here on the top of the head with his frills coming down the back here. The only thing with this guy is his colors aren't quite as bright as I quite remember him, especially like compared to the X Plus. He's a little bit more on the dull side. If you actually want a brighter looking mold, there is a 2-pack that also came with the 75, which is a little bit more movie accurate. But this is what I got, so still like it nonetheless, because I kind of like the variety and the coloring on my shelf anyways. But you got the nice gold paint job here for the front of his neck, and same with the front of his body. And I like how they have like the folding for the neck here, which kind of gives it more of that suit appearance, which is really cool. Same with right around here for his shoulder area and on his bicep. And then you have all these little black bumpy protrusions on the entirety of his body, because this guy's scaling was just always fascinating, I guess is the word I'm going to use. It's an odd choice, but it looks really cool with them, because I always like Titanosaurus is always, especially growing up, one of my more favorite Showa kaijus, and pretty much like all the later Showa Kaijus I've always really liked anyways. But for his dorsal, I guess it's his ear fins, whatever you want to call them, look really good. Some more metallic gold there on both sides. Mine has a slight little scuff right there, but it's a vinyl. I'm not going to really complain too much about it. But coming along the back, oh, I guess there's a little scuff right there. It's like a little X. X marks the spot on the top of his head. But moving down his back where you got more of the fin here. And what's really cool too is you'll see on this side, it's pretty clean looking. But on the opposite side, you have that little raised edge, which he had on the suit, which is really cool. You even see this on the X Plus as well. And it's really cool to see this kind of replicated on the Bandai vinyl a little bit. The only thing is, I maybe wish they would have like spent a little bit more time with some of the black dots, because you see here it kind of fades right at the top of the dorsal fins. And it might have been kind of cool if they maybe would have kept the consistency a little bit better. But then again, these are meant to be played with, so not going to really knock it down too much in terms of like some minute details being missing on the figure. But would have been really cool to actually, especially for like collecting purposes, seeing a little bit more attention to the detail on the top there. But like for the tail section here, it looks really good. You got some more metallic gold here for the fin, which fades into the more reddish color that you see around the base of the tail here, which separated for his hurricane winds. Looks really nice. And I like too that like you always see Titanosaurus like with his tail spread, because it would always be kind of disappointing to see it just kind of close, because this is like the coolest thing about Titanosaurus other than just his strange appearance in general. So it's always neat to see this like him already like prepared to do his attack always on these little figures. And even on the X Plus too. And then moving down to his, well, I guess moving up to his arms, which are in a pretty stagnant pose, but works really well for standing on your shelf. Even kind of can just adjust them a little bit for more action poses. But got more of those black nubs here for his scaling on his arms, with a little bit of yellow here for some added detailing for the skin. With 3 fingers with bone coloring for the nails. Looks really nice overall. Doesn't bleed too much into the hands, which I really like to see. And then some added detailing for the palms of the hands as well. And then moving down to his beefy legs. Got a little bit of muscle definition there, so you can definitely tell he's been doing his squats. Has not missed squat today. With a little bit of added neat detailing here for the knees. For his feet with 3 toes. More bone coloring for the nails there, which again, nice to see that it doesn't bleed too much into the feet. Really good. And then some more copyright information on the bottom. And then for his articulation, head can rotate all the way around. Arms can almost rotate all the way around, but they get hindered by the leg on the bottom. And then the legs can move forward and about that far back. Cannot rotate all the way around. And then a little bit of rotation here at the tail as well.
Alright, Steve, I'm ready for my close-up. Just, review me like one of your French toys.
I don't even own a French toy. At least I don't think I own a French toy. At least I don't think I've reviewed. Okay, I'm just gonna go over you now. But yeah, this is the Nuclear Stirke Godzilla. But I am missing some pieces. The only thing that I have from when I initially was buying these guys when the movie came out is I still have his atomic breath piece, which is just this little blue missile here, which you just insert into his mouth. You're gonna want to make sure not to have this all the way back, so it won't engage. But you just open his mouth, stick it in, mouth closes, and then you can pull down on this little dorsal plate here, and then when you pull that back, boom! Shoots pretty well. Definitely just fell down my review table there, so I'm kind of sad right now. Also kind of sad, I actually just realized I'm going to have to add this guy's pictures to the photo gallery as well. At least I like Zilla, so it's a labor of love. But okay, for his detailing, is actually not that bad. Not my personal favorite out of my Trendmasters that I own. I still personally, I like the Ultimate a little bit better. And also the, what's the one I called upstairs? The Razor Claw? Razor Tail? Razor Bite? Fame Bite? Fame Bite Godzilla. I think it's Fame Bite Godzilla. I did a review of it. I don't remember his name. But you guys could check it out. But anyways, I personally I like the smaller ones. That's the one I usually go towards if I want to have like a more like accurate looking Zilla. But this one still does a pretty decent job. The only issue is that face. God, I wish they would have fixed that jaw, because like on mine, it's always been crooked. Always been crooked. But what's nice though is they still got a lot of detailing on his face sculpt here, with some orange here for his eyes on both sides. With what's always been kind of weird is it's been like a super bright gray on the top of or I guess the inner workings of the detailing for his skin. And then his base coat is a very dark gray, like almost blue color, which always looked really cool. Not quite accurate for what you see in the movie, but still really nice appearance. With his giant lower jaw here and his little predominant chin. And then the teeth are all painted very nicely, and even has a nice fleshy pink coloring here for the inside of his mouth, his tongue area. Same with on the roof of his mouth, done very nice as well. And I like too that they even add a little bit of pink there for the back of his throat where the missile usually sits for his atomic breath. Always really neat. And then you got this giant little plate here for the back of his cheek area. Moving down his neck where you get the start of his dorsal spines. The giant hole here where the missile sits inside of, which is always weird because if he's just standing on your shelf, there's always going to be that. So it's one of the things like too, like if I ever have this guy displayed, I usually just have him kind of just hunched over like that for the most part. But the dorsal spines are done very nicely on this kaiju, very accurate for what you see, with the giant sort of like the dorsal plate on the back of his shoulders plates here are always the more larger predominant ones, and then everything kind of curves up and back, which looks really cool. Like, I always appreciated the overall design of Zilla. It was just like, it was never really a Godzilla movie though. But still, like, I still enjoy it as a monster movie though. For his arms, very lanky. Don't have any really added articulation other than you can like rotate them a little bit. But still look really nice in terms of detailing. Got some black here for the nails. Some added detailing for the palms. Skin coloring looks really good. Like the chest too. A little bit puffy. Then it gets really skinny as you come towards the base of the hip. And then for his legs, God, those are some long, lanky legs. But what's cool is like it's very articulated though, which you have like the right joints for these toys at the time, so you can at least have them standing like Zilla's supposed to. Which I could have seen them just like skipping out on a joint somewhere in here, but really do appreciate that they added little joints here for the back of the foot here. Really cool. And then the bottom of his feet, got his 3 toes with that little guy just hanging off to the side there. Nothing really going on the bottom, with his tail kind of going in a little bit of a whip pattern, which can also rotate all the way around. I should probably save those for the articulation. But overall, like detail-wise, he's still really pretty decent looking, especially at some angles. But it's just like, especially mine like has that fudged up jaw, and it's just like it always had. But still really cool. Like, it's a decent option if you guys are looking for a pretty inexpensive one, because you can pretty much find these guys on eBay pretty readily, missing parts. So if you guys just want like a Zilla and you don't care if it's missing some things, like this guy will do it for you. But yeah, for his articulation, again, his mouth can move up and down. It actually can stay in the place if you work it, so you can keep it open. And then again, back here with this little dorsal plate is the one used for the articulation. And then his arms can go pretty much all the way around. This one cannot, but decent range of motion. Then right around the elbow, they can rotate all the way around, both sides. For his legs, can go forward about that far, backwards about that far. Nice bend at the knee, and decent bend here at the foot. And his tail can rotate all the way around. Alright, so for the coup de grace of the reviewed, you know. Get out of here. Did you let me? Nobody loves you. God. Bane of the Gaiju community. Well, sorry, I love him. I personally love him, but I understand. But anyways, for the 1975 Godzilla, this thing, detail-wise, I love this thing. Like, this guy just looks pretty close to what you see in the movie, or at least from what I remember. You can also just pretty much say this guy is a 74 if you really wanted to. Like, for the most part, there's some detail differences, but this guy, like, he'll work for you. But yeah, the head sculpt, very Showa, with his very curved lower lips. Almost like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle quality. Like, if you guys remember the old 90s Turtles, like, I don't know, it's just, like, that reminds me a lot. It's like, especially the third movie, where the animatronic wasn't quite as good as what, like, the previous two were. It was very, like, stiff. And that's what that reminds me a lot of. But the detailing is very nice. I like his frowny brow. Makes him look very aggravated, which works really well for this Godzilla. The only thing that's really off, and you guys probably already kind of noticed, is that he's green. Which definitely isn't right for this Godzilla. He should be like charcoal gray black. But it still works really good. Like, for the most part, like, we were mistaking Godzilla to be green anyways for a while, so it's okay for this guy to have that. But the teeth detailing, done very nicely. I like they even got the teeth painted in some of these little hard to get crevices. Really cool. You can even see a little bit of the red here for the tongue towards the back. And then he's also got a little bit of a lighter wash here on the top of his head, which you can see here on the front section of his chest. And then also on the kneecaps. But his dorsal spines look pretty good. Very bland looking for dorsal spines. But then again, the Showa, especially the later Showas, weren't the most, like, cool looking dorsal spines. But they work for the figure. You got his 3 plated sections coming down his back. And they come into his tail. And they kind of just form into one once you start getting towards the end. But other than that, he's got his traditional Godzilla scaling coming down the entirety of his body. Hands look pretty decent overall. They kind of just fuse in together. There's no real gapping anywhere in between the fingers. But you do have a little bit of detailing here on the bottom of the palms. And his legs, a little thin, but look really good. Because this guy was definitely meant to be a brawler, especially on screen. So he was definitely a little bit more leaner than some of the other Godzillas that we've seen. And you can definitely tell here in the legs. Maybe like he's almost kind of like Muppety. I think it's one of the reasons why I keep just kind of referencing this guy to like old Jim Henson puppets, because it could have, like, especially like the way it was just designed, it would have worked really well. And I like too with the tail, it kind of just drags on the ground and kind of curves a little bit, which pretty standard for what you see with this Godzilla, because like the tail would come up a little bit, but a lot of the time you also just notice it just kind of dragging. So overall, like, aesthetic-wise, pretty pleased with this figure. It's just like the green's a little bit of a throw-off, but nothing too crazy. Well, that and his nails are like silver. Like, same with his teeth. Like, they're not quite bone coloring, but again, like, I forgive everything because the detailing is pretty correct for this guy, so it still works really well for me. Because, like, initially, like, when Arnez saw this, he thought it was a bootleg. Which I could understand. Like, if you've seen our, on the Geek Chest, we did a 1984 bootleg, the Memorial Box figure. Still actually like that figure. It's just like, why does it have gold eyes? Well, it made it cool to give it gold eyes and super bad paint job on the dorsal spine. But, I understand. For his articulation, his head can rotate all the way around. Arms can almost rotate all the way around, but they do get hindered by the waist area here, this side as well. And then for his legs, can pretty much rotate all the way around, it feels like. They rub a little bit on the back here, so be a little bit warned about that, but you can pretty much get them to move. And then no real articulation here at the tail. And for some quick comparisons, here we have the Bandai Vinyl Terra Mechagodzilla figures compared next to some other Bandai vinyls with the Monster Island series King Caesar and Gigan. And here they are compared next to some SH Monsters figures with the Spitfire Godzilla and the 4-Form Awakening version of Shin Godzilla. And here they are next to some Robot Spirits figures with Eva Unit 2 from Neon Genesis Evangelion and Death Scythe Hell from Gundam Wing. And here they are compared to some 30cm X Plus figures with Mechagodzilla 1975 and Titanosaurus.
And Steve, why have I not been in any of these comparisons yet?
Well, alright, fine here. This is how big he is compared next to these guys. He's the same size as about a Bandai vinyl. You got it. And here they are next to some Diamond Select banks with the 1974 Godzilla and Mechagodzilla. So overall, with our 3 little Bandai vinyls, I actually still really like all of these guys. I guess in order, if I had to say my favorites, I'm going to say Mechagodzilla, I still say is probably the best detailed one. Possibly not the best pose, but at least detail-wise, it's personally my favorite still. But probably the general best figure would probably be Titanosaurus, if I had to say. Though I'm still really glad that I picked up the 1975 Godzilla, because definitely need them for the collection. That and, yeah, again, for the Nuclear Stirke Godzilla, the Trendmaster 1998 Godzilla. Still a really fine figure. If you guys are looking for a Zilla to add to your collection, it'll do justice. That and scale-wise, like, he stands about as tall as the SH Monstars, which isn't quite in scale, but then again, if SH Monstars made one, it'd probably be about that big. I would imagine anyways. So, if you guys are looking for one to pick up, especially to, like, kind of pose with the other kaiju figures, it'll work. It's not the best thing, but it'll work. It'll work better than pretty much any of the other ones that I've owned. But if you're looking for like one definitive Zilla figure to get, I'd still recommend trying to get a hold of an Ultimate. But yeah, definitely if you guys are able to pick these guys up at a pretty cheap price, I would definitely hop on it. I got these guys for actually pretty much less than 30 bucks a piece for each of them, which definitely seems like a steal. But what do you guys think? Do you guys own any of these Bandai vinyls? What's your favorite 1998 Godzilla? Or is that just Monstars? Is this more your thing? Please let us know in the comments. A little closer pictures of these guys on our Facebook. You want to click the link description below. We also have exclusive prints on our Patreon account if you guys would like to help support the channel and get a sweet print also down in the description. And help us defeat those kaijus by hitting that like button, subscribe, become a ranger today. See you guys in the next video. Bye bye.